Hello and welcome to Radio Waves. I'm your host, Kris Poliquin, and this is a production of Red Apples Media. We're broadcasting out of WLBE-790 AM out of Leesburg, Florida. And if you're watching us on Lake Sumter Television, you're doing so on Comcast Channel 13, Spectrum 498, and CenturyLink Prism Channel 83. So today, I invited the Superintendent of Lake County Schools to be a guest on our show, Ms. Diane Kornegay. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, Kris.
So what I would like to do is really kind of delve into your first 100 days, what your vision is for Lake County schools. What do you think we're kind of lacking in, and where you see us going into the future?
Start with the 100 days. And what I've seen since I've been here. I came in January and actually officially took the seat in March, but I had that transition period which allowed me to get in a little early and really get into the community and in our schools to find out exactly what we had and what we needed. So I came with 5 major goals. The first goal was I wanted to invest time in building relationships with our school board. The relationship between the superintendent and the board is essential to making sure that that governing body is in tune with the needs of the district and making decisions in the best interest of our kids collectively. And so that relationship is really important to me. Secondly, I wanted to build public trust and really open up the lines of communication and collaboration. One of the worst things that someone can do when they come into a new place is come thinking that they have all the answers, because I absolutely, while I have a vision for what I want our schools to look like and sound like and feel like, I really have to respect and honor the talent that's here, the decisions that were made prior to me, and the successes, and build upon those successes. So I spent a lot of time conducting teacher focus groups, walking classrooms, talking to teachers, getting into the community, meeting with whether it be chambers and rotaries, Kiwanis clubs, just individual citizens who are interested in talking about our schools, just asking some simple questions. What's working? What's not working? And how can I best support the efforts moving forward? I got lots of great feedback and was able to compile that feedback in a published 100-day summary report, which is on our district website, that captures what was currently in place and some of the challenges, as well as those successes moving forward that we will build upon. The third thing I did was I really looked at our budget. Funding is a huge challenge for us as a school district, and so I wanted to look to see where our monies were being spent and review the processes for our budgeting. And so I spent some time looking at that and talking with our folks about the dollars that were being spent, looking at every contract to make sure that our monies were being spent wisely and ensuring that the maximum amount of dollars are being used in our classrooms where it needs to be in the best interest of our kids. I also did a thorough curriculum review, so I looked at what resources and materials were in the classrooms. I also looked at teaching strategies and what teachers felt was the most successful, what they felt like wasn't working. Often in education, the new thing comes along and we put something new on teachers' plates without thinking about one more thing, and have we taken anything off of their plate? And so I really wanted to find out what's not working. Let's take those things off of their plates, and what is working, and let's focus on those and doing those things really well. And then lastly, I looked at our safety, our school safety, looking at our facilities, looking at our structures in place to make sure that every facility was safe, and looking at our capital plan to see what schools were in need of repairs and renovations and what our plan was moving forward in that regard as well. So the 100-day summary report captures all of my findings as well as some recommendation in each of those 5 areas.
Okay. I know that the way that Florida allocates money for school districts has been a hot topic as of late, and a lot of people out there are looking at why do these districts get this amount of funding versus us, if that's supposed to be our money or our taxpayers' dimes going to other counties, cities, or districts.
So to put it in perspective, Lake County ranks 19th in terms of student population out of 67. But we ranked 62nd in funding. That's the per student funding that we receive from the state. So a big discrepancy being one of the larger student population-wise, but having such a low funding. And that's really in large part due to part of the funding formula called the district cost differential, the DCD. You hear about that, where essentially property tax dollars, your dollars that are collected, a portion of that is being shaved off at the state level and being dispersed to larger districts where they say that the cost of living is higher. So for example, for every dollar that your property tax that you're spending, we as a school district within that formula, recouping 97 cents. So you think about this whole idea, someone described it to me as the reverse of Robin Hood, where you're taking from the poorer district to give to the wealthier. And so that is something that this legislative session that we're hoping can be corrected. I know that I've been meeting with our legislative delegation and talking to them about what they can do to support us to have a review of that. There has been a study that's been issued to look at the district cost differential, and I'm hoping that collectively as a community we can speak on behalf of our kids and our schools to ensure that we're getting the maximum amount of funding and that our taxpayers are getting the monies back into our schools as they anticipated.
It is a major concern out there because, again, it's,
Sure.
What about our kids is the first thought
Yeah.
that comes to mind for many people. Have you found any other ways that you might be able to save money for the school district or and just to overall improve our system within Lake County?
Sure. The finding money is always going to be the greatest challenge. And so we do have to really look at every penny, because every penny counts, because every student counts, and looking at what we're spending our money on. So there were some contracts that we had maybe with some outside consultants and vendors that I felt like we could do internally or live without that I canceled as a way to recoup some funding. And then we also have to look at our staffing formulas. What we know is that we have to make sure that we're in compliance with class size, and Lake County's been great about making sure that for the past several years that we follow legislation. But we have to make sure that we live within our means and that we have enough teachers and support staff in every school to support the needs of kids, but that we don't overexpend, because 85% of our budget is in people. And so that is truly our best investment, is our people working alongside of our kids. So we
Sure.
want to make sure that we maximize that resource without overspending. And so we certainly have to look at our staffing models and allocation formula to make sure that first we're in compliance with statute, but also that we don't spend more than what we can actually afford.
Okay. So, because there was an article that just recently came out, we're not necessarily overstaffed right now. Just maybe don't have our assets allocated in the right spot.
Well, and that's an unknown.
Or potentially.
Potentially, because what we know is that a huge influx of kids typically occurs after Labor Day. And when those kids come in, prior to that, it's a projection. It's a moving target. We never really know how many kids will come and where they're going to come. So you typically have some schools that might have fewer students in it that they were staffed at, and you might have schools that are over capacity. So simply shifting those resources or those personnel to those schools most in need, to make sure that again, we don't overstaff by just hiring more people when we have potentially enough people in place. So really the article that came out was looking at this discrepancy between our allocation formula that exists that says if you have this many kids, you get this many people, and the actual staffing model or the staffing plan that we have. And there's some discrepancies there. And so what I wanted to make sure was that we evaluate that to ensure, do we have the right people in the right places and the right number of people? And so once all the kids are there, we'll look at those formulas in that model, and we'll determine whether or not we're understaffed, overstaffed, and make the shifts that we need to ensure that we have the right supports in the right place.
Okay, so people shouldn't panic over headlines then.
Yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Read the articles.
Right, yeah. They just know that we were talking about positions, not people. We don't. The article said that there was not any discussion of layoffs. We're absolutely not talking about anything of that nature. It's simply shifting and looking within our means. A lot of those positions are actually sitting vacant. So it's a matter
really?
of looking at some vacant positions and maybe saying, okay, well, let's not fill those right now. And really, that's what we're talking about.
Okay. Well, speaking of positions, what brought you down to Lake County for this one?
I wanted to be a superintendent. It is my dream job. I've spent my life's career in education working towards this opportunity. And I really believed that Lake County offered an opportunity for my greatest strengths to fit its greatest needs. And I'm a Floridian. I've lived here all my life and just found the area to be beautiful and welcoming and something that I wanted to be a part of for the sake of their kids.
So you've been in education for quite a while.
A long time.
What was your initial inspiration?
That's kind of an interesting story. I've told it before, but I love telling the story about how I found myself in education, because it's not at all where I thought I was going to be. But I am was raised in a family where sports was a big part of our lives, and I'm one of 5 kids, so I was the middle child, and so the whole competition, especially with the 2 older sisters, was always something that I was okay with with that competition and that challenge, but I always wanted to be better than them, so I always looked for opportunities to excel in things that they were doing. But the thing that I wasn't really good at was athletics. Although I loved sports, they were far better at it. One sister was the captain of the cheerleading squad, and she was very athletic and very talented. And I realized early on I'm not going to be the great athlete. But what I found was that I had a unique opportunity to coach and to inspire others. And so I took a different approach towards coaching in athletics by finding myself in that role.
Okay, well, Diane, we need to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll continue our conversation with the Superintendent of Lake County Schools. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back to Radio Waves. Again, I'm your host, Kris Poliquin, and we're going to continue making waves with Diane Kornegay, Lake County's Superintendent of Schools. Again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come on to our show.
Oh, thank you, Kris.
Let's talk about your vision and some of your plans and what you think you're going to be able to accomplish here in Lake County.
Well, you may have heard that I've been talking a lot about Destination Lake and making Lake County a destination school district. That came from a conversation about high-performing school districts. What do high-performing school districts have? They have some things all in common. They all have A's and B's. All their schools are A's and B's. They have 90% or higher graduation rates. They have few to no third-grade retentions, which is that gateway primary year. And they have kindergartners coming ready for school. And they have kids graduating with industry certifications and or advanced credits for college. So using that idea, what high-performing school districts have in place, there's no reason why Lake County can't have all those things and be a destination school district, the place where everybody wants to be, every parent wants their child to be, where every child wants to be, where every teacher wants to work and be. So that's my goal, is I want to make us a destination place. And we're going to focus on 3 things this year specifically. And these 3 things really came out of looking at our data as I reviewed over the 100-day time period and talking with teachers and talking with the community about what they want for their schools. So it's a collective vision. I don't believe it is one that singularly I generated, but although I believe very deeply in these 3 things. One is I want to expand our career and technical education programs. These are opportunities for middle and high school kids to earn certifications in a skill or trade. What we know is that every child is not college bound. Whether they are or whether they aren't, career and technical education programs offer kids job skills. They offer enhanced communication skills, collaboration skills, all the things that will help them to be successful whether they enter the workforce or they enter college. But kids, for a lot of kids, for example, today I met a young lady this morning at East Ridge High School. Her name is Lauren. Lauren is a senior, and she is in the Video Production Academy at East Ridge High School, and she interviewed me today.
Okay.
And I was just so impressed by what she had learned through her involvement. She'd been in the program for 4 years. Her ability to communicate, her written skills, all the things that you would want of a high school graduate to be college and career ready, I saw in Lauren today. And I know that our programs are preparing kids across the county to enter the workforce or to enter college. But we need to expand those opportunities to make sure that at every high school, every child has an opportunity to engage in relevant learning in a field that they're interested in. So that means getting into the business community and find out what are the programs, what are the jobs that we need our kids to have when they graduate, what are the skills that they need to be successful, and then how as a community do we support those and grow those programs in every high school to give kids access to them. That's a big goal.
I was going to say that's going to take quite a bit.
It's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of community support, especially through our business community. But I've met with our chambers. I have found that through our economic development folks, everyone's on board and realizes that investing in these types of programs will generate a workforce that we can hopefully keep local and will help to really make us more of that destination district that I know that we can and will become. We just started this school year the Health Science Collegiate Academy in partnership with Lake Sumter and South Lake Hospital. It opened on the campus of Lake Sumter in Claremont, And so we have 65 students right now in 11th and 12th grade that are full-time dual enrolled. That means that these students are earning college credits while in high school, and they can graduate with an Associate of Arts degree, 2 years of college paid for while they're in high school. We need more than 65 kids involved in these types of programs. What a tremendous thing for families, for kids to graduate with 2 years of college paid for and done.
Oh, yeah.
So I want that for every student. If they're not interested in health science, let's figure out what are you interested in.
Okay, so maybe bleed it into the technical schools
Absolutely.
and not just limit it to, well, university or colleges.
Exactly.
Okay. And well, as you're talking with teachers and during your school visits, what did you find that they want more of? I'm sure you get inundated with recommendations, and this is what we need to do. Was there any that stood out more than others? I mean, more paper, more staples, or no, we need more of this?
It's interesting. The one thing that they said they wanted more of was more of a voice. They wanted to be more involved in the decision-making process. They wanted their voice to be heard before the decisions were made. And so I made them that promise that I will do things with them and not to them. And if there are things that are going to directly impact them in their work, their classrooms, then we'll talk to them about it first. And I think that some of the programs and things we've already either revised or eliminated came as a direct result of their input, of things that they said, would you please take this off of our plate? They weren't asking for a lot more other than the freedom to be able to have some autonomy in their classrooms and just to be a part of the process. And so it was so encouraging that really they just want to be a part of the solution. And
that's reassuring.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anytime there's a large organization like that, it takes a lot of effort to include everybody. Sometimes you get top-heavy, so to speak. Now, do you think Lake County has a tendency of being top-heavy, or as far as leadership?
Well, I'll tell you, I changed the structure to create more of a system of support rather than, as you would refer to, as a kind of a top-heavy central office where everyone is seated in one location and they're trying to push out supports to 45 different schools. So I regionalized the district, put it into 3 different groups, and I dispersed the central office into 3 areas. So we have an office to the south, we have an office here in Tavares, and we have an office to the north. So that we have an executive regional director who oversees the direct supports for those smaller groups of schools, because the needs are very different. You have a growing population to the south, with a lot of non-English speaking students that are coming in that need those supports. So how do we maximize supports to meet those needs versus some of the needs of other areas of the district? So one regional director may have 14 to 16 schools rather than one person trying to oversee 45. And then we took some of the other staff and we put them into those regional groups. So you have technology supports, you have ESOL supports, ESE student supports, different kinds of levels of support depending on the needs of the community. People just to go in to work alongside teachers with them, to support our school leaders, and make sure that we create a system of support and not a system of compliance and not one that is top-heavy. And I did eliminate some administrative positions when I came in. So I feel like we're at a great level. And we're going to, again, maximize those resources and push them back out to our schools where they need to be.
Okay. Where do you see us in the next 2 to 3 years?
Well, we're going to continue to focus on what I think we need to focus on. I think you'll see our growing career and technical education programs. I'm also working on acceleration opportunities for all of our kids as well. So kind of connected to career and technical education, there are kids that are college bound to which would like to earn those college credits. So I mentioned the Health Science Collegiate Academy, really growing dual enrollment programs with Lake Tech, Lake Sumter, University of Central Florida, working collaboratively alongside them to make sure that our kids have opportunities to dual enroll, earn college credits while in high school, and again, earn those industry certifications, whether it be through Lake Tech or through one of our high schools. We want to build those partnerships as well. And then I hope that you'll see greater student achievement outcomes. I believe that you will. We have a very common focus right now and an expectation that we want kids reading, writing, thinking, and talking every day, every classroom. And so everything that we have done is aligned to support teachers with professional development and the resources they need for kids to read, write, think, and talk. We know that through collaborative learning and independent learning time, as well as some direct instructional time, that kids will get what they need, and I hope that you'll see a change I think we'll see improved attendance rates. I think we'll see the decrease in behavior as kids are more engaged in learning that is tailored to their needs, as well as very engaging and relevant through that collaborative learning time.
Okay. Now I'm just taking us off track just for a second, but I hear we're changing the logo as well?
Yeah, we did. So we wanted a new fresh image.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
The traditional apple, I think, served us well for many, many years, but it's a new day. And so we have a new logo. It's bright and colorful, and I think represents our focus on teaching and learning with the open book, focusing on authentic literacy, which is really what I just described as that reading, writing, thinking, and talking. And the sun, which simplifies the new day, as well as some ripples of the lake to signify the beauty of this county and all that it has to offer.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Diane, thank you again for coming on the show. And if anybody has any questions, where can they get information?
Well, the best source right now is our district website. I would encourage you to go there. We're also on Facebook and we're on Twitter, and we'll be launching a new mobile app here really soon that they can download and get all the information about our schools and the district.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. And that's it for our show today. I'm your host, Kris Poliquin. We'll see you next time.